Hello, wrestling fans. I am longtime independent wrestling fan Robert with another DVD review. As this time it will be the East Coast Wrestling Association 2002 Super 8 tournament. This particular event took place back on March 2nd of 2002. Now, for those who don't know, the East Coast Wrestling Association was founded by Jim Kettner, who used to wrestle himself, and he founded the promotion back in 1967. He eventually sold the company in 2010, and I believe, I don't know if those he sold the company to still own it today. But for those who don't know, the Super 8 tournament was like the very first tournament. It was like the tournament of all tournaments in independent wrestling. The first one took place back in 1997, and over the years, many of the winners, as well as mostly the many winners and participants, it ended up a springboard for many wrestlers to go on to greater and bigger things in the sport. Well, let's get this DVD review underway. We start out with a video up on the ECWA Tron, or the ECWA. They show footage from the previous show where the Cheetah Master had defeated Prince Nana in a steel cage match, and after the match, Cheetah was attacked by a masked man with a chair. Also that same night, in another steel cage match, Low-Key and American Dragon, who we know as Daniel Bryan, had defeated the SAT and JJ Johnson. I believe he was known as JJ the Ring Crew guy at one time, and JR Ryder. I think they were collectively known as the J Team. Low-Key and Dragon were victorious in that cage match as well. And also they showed Billy Fives and Xavier defeating Red and Scoot Andrews, where Fives pinned Andrews in the tag match and took off with Andrews' heavyweight championship belt, claiming that he should be champion since he managed to pin Andrews in a tag match. So we begin the night's festivities with the previous year's Super 8 tournament winner Low-Key comes out in a suit and tie carrying the trophy to the ring, and then they introduce Charlie Haas, who comes to the ring on crutches. I'm guessing Charlie was supposed to be in the tournament, or at least on this show somehow. And Charlie mentioned about his late brother Russ, who passed away a few months before the show took place. All 8 of the participants come out wearing Super 8 t-shirts and Low-Key placing a medal around their necks. And they are standing around, after they're all introduced and they get their medals, they're standing around the trophy in the ring for the ringside photographers to take pictures of. So we get on with the first match of the event, which saw a first round match of the Super 8 tournament as the natural Bobby Roode went one-on-one with Red. Roode, this is way before, years later, ended up in TNA Pro Wrestling, and then of course the WWE. Red also was part of the early days of TNA Wrestling later that year. But this match gets underway. Red hits a Hurricane Rana, followed by a missile dropkick from the top rope. Roode hits a spinning powerbomb on Red, then hits a Beals Red into the corner. It was like a hip toss over his head. Red hits 2 snap suplexes, followed by a vertical suplex. Roode misses a second rope elbow drop, and Red hits a senton bomb from the top rope. Roode attempts a superplex. Red pushes him off the ropes. Red hits an infrared, which is like his corkscrew leg drop from the top rope, followed by the Red Star Press, which was a standing shooting star press on the mat, and pins Roode to advance to the semifinals. Next up was the second first round match of the tournament, as we see Donovan Morgan take on Pepper Parks. A lot of mat wrestling to start things out in this matchup. Morgan eventually hits a Saito-plex. Morgan places Parks in a tree of woe and then hits a sliding drop kick in his face. Parks eventually comes back with a top rope sunset flip powerbomb. Morgan hits an exploder suplex, followed by a swinging fisherman neckbreaker. Pepper Parks climbs to the top rope, but he's caught in midair with an ace crusher. And then Morgan hits a double unhook pile driver to pin Pepper Parks and advance to the semifinal match. Then comes our third semifinal match of the tournament. Well, I'm sorry, the third first round match of the tournament, as Matt Striker, spelled with a Y, not to be confused with Matt Striker, who did make it to the WWE, as he went one-on-one with Jamie Noble. Jamie Noble was, of course, in the final years of WCW as 1/3 of the Young Dragons, and this particular match, Striker, spelled with a Y, eventually made it to Ring of Honor. Noble hit 2 gut busters in the beginning, and he applied a surfboard. Striker hits his suplexes Noble. He's in the ring, and he gives him a suplex where he ends up out on the floor. Striker also hit a power slam. Noble hits a top rope leg drop, and after a lot of counters, Noble pins Striker with a schoolboy pin to advance to the semifinals of the tournament. And then we had our final first round match of the Super 8 tournament, as Xavier, the all-around best, went one-on-one with the phenomenal AJ Styles. And early going, Xavier had a bow and arrow submission on Styles. They went out to the floor, and Xavier hits a Christopher Daniels-like moonsault just on Styles on the floor. Xavier, back in the ring, Xavier attempts a 450 splash, but Styles lifted his knees. Styles hit a suplex into a neckbreaker combo, and then finished off Xavier with the Styles Clash to advance to the semifinals of the tournament. Next up was a ladder match in which Billy Fives challenged Scoot Andrews for the ECWA Heavyweight Championship. Scoot hits the ring, and the Fives goes out. They start brawling, and they're on the floor. They didn't wait for the bell to ring. Scoot got an early advantage during that brawl. Scoot places Fives in the corner and gives him a kick in the groin, which we know is Goldust called the Shattered Dreams. Eventually, Billy Fives hits a Kryptonite Crunch and brings the ladder into play. Andrews tries to climbs the ladder, but Fives powerbombs him off the ladder to the mat. Five brought some chairs into the ring. He attempted a concerto, which Edge and Christian were known for. Well, a one-man concerto, but Andrews got out of the way in time. They're both climbing each side of the ladder. They're doing a chair joust, a la Masato Tanaka and the late Mike Awesome, which Andrews knocked Fives off the ladder, and then Fives tries to pull Andrews' foot off the ladder, but Andrews kicked him away twice, and Andrews ultimately grabs the belt and wins the match. This was a ladder match. It was just a ladder match. It proves you don't need to really jump off the ladder. I mean, you don't have to do all those ladder spots to have a good ladder match. Jumping off the ladder all the time or using the ladder as a weapon. I'm guessing the ladder may have been property of the very building where the show took place. But right after that matchup, they had gone to intermission, and they resumed with the semifinals of the Super 8 tournament, as the phenomenal AJ Styles took on the Amazing Red. Red hit an early spin kick onto Styles. Styles hit an overhead belly-to-belly suplex throw. Styles hits a wicked brainbuster on Red. On 2 occasions, Styles attempted the Styles Clash, but Red had the move well scouted. Red eventually hits his Code Red powerbomb. Eventually, AJ wins the match with a Super Styles Clash off the top rope onto Red to advance to the finals of the tournament. Then came the second semifinal match of the tournament, in which Donovan Morgan went one-on-one with Jamie Noble. Morgan hits a belly-to-belly suplex on Noble, gives him a Saito-plex. Noble recovered with a jumping neck breaker of sorts. Morgan hit a leaping DDT, jumped off the top rope, hit a catching Noble with a DDT. And after some type of counters, Morgan ends up pinning Jamie Noble to win the match and advance to the finals, and the fans gave both men, especially Noble, a standing ovation. Months after this show, Noble would debut on WWE television as a trailer park reject from the Jerry Springer show, hanging with Nydia. And then, I don't know if this was the first ever Summit Rumble, which ECWA was known for doing at Super 8 shows, where they basically, it's an excuse basically, obviously to squeeze everybody else they have on the roster into this match. Well, out comes Mr. Ooh La La, who comes to the ring, and I don't know if he had gotten number 1 or not, but he's starting to do a strip tease, and he's ready to take his pants off, and I don't know who that gentleman was in the ring that wasn't the ring announcer. He, Ooh La La looks down the front of his, looks inside the front of his pants, screams like a chick, and runs backstage. And then out comes Prince Nana with manager E.S. Easton. I believe that was him. And presumably Nana got number 2. And out comes April Hunter. And the Rumble gets underway officially. Slick Wagner Brown comes out, and April tells Slick, hey, I was doing just fine till you came out here. And Slick and April, surprised, they start going at it. Unless I'm mistaken, April's the first woman to compete in the Summit Rumble match. Eventually out comes Matt Stryker, the one who made it to WWE, not the one who competed in the Super 8 tournament earlier in the night. Out comes the Japanese pool boy to Madonna's Like a Virgin. He's wearing a wedding dress, and at that point, Stryker, Nana, Slick, and April, all 4 of them, literally put the boots of this poor bastard, and they rip his bridal dress off. Among other participants in this match-up were Low-Key, Kid Cruel, who later became Mike the Shooter Cruel, the SAT, Jose and Joel Maximo, Ryan Wing, Zero, spelled with an X, Abunai, Inferno, Roughhouse Rivera, JC North, Billy Bax, who the fans are chanting Opie at due to his short red hair. I think he looks like Ron Howard. Mozart Fontaine, Ryan Wing, Roughhouse Rivera, Inferno. Mr. Ooh La La comes out a second time, but he crashes his ribs on the apron, and I guess he went to the back again. J.J. Johnston, J.R. Ryder, the Cheetah Master was introduced, and at that point Prince Nana bailed outside the ring, and all of a sudden the Masked Man, who attacked Cheetah Master after his win over Nana the previous show, hits Cheetah from behind with a baseball bat, takes off his jacket, he's wearing a Super 8 shirt, takes off the mask. It was Bobby Roode. And fortunately Cheetah Master never made it to the ring for this Rumble. Eventually, in the end, Nana eliminated Low-Key in the end to win it. Oh, by the way, Mr. Ooh La La, when he came out a third time, it was the charm, because he was finally in the match, but was eliminated quickly after that. Let's see, did I forget anything about the Rumble? As a result of winning the Summit Rumble, Nana would challenge Scoot Andrews for the Heavyweight Championship at the next show. But then it was on to the finals of the Super 8 tournament, and before the match goes away, they show pre-recorded face-to-face interview with Morgan and Styles, talking about how much they respect each other and they were going to win the tournament. They shook hands in the ring. Morgan slapped Styles. Styles returns the slap, and then they shake hands again. Eventually, Styles puts Morgan in the Muda lock. They traded running forearms. They go out to the floor. Styles hits a top rope shooting stars press onto Morgan while he's standing, but it looked like Morgan failed to catch him. So I guess it's the shooting Styles press, I suppose. Morgan puts a leg lock on Styles. Styles hits a kryptonite crunch, does a spiral or spinal tap. It was like a twisting corkscrew splash or senton off the top rope that Styles hit, but Morgan kicked out of that. Styles hits the Styles Clash. Morgan kicked out of that. Morgan hit his double underhook pile driver, which he put away Pepper Parks in the first round, but Styles kicked out. But after a second double underhook pile driver, Morgan won the match and was the 2002 Super 8 winner. The other competitors earlier in the night, as well as the rest of everybody basically who wrestled earlier in the show, came out and to applaud and basically the other Super 8 competitors in the tournament came out, congratulated Morgan and on the win. Of course, as years went on, this tournament got duplicated numerous times by numerous promotions. I remember, eventually CCW came up with Best of the Best. The old Jersey Championship Wrestling had the J Cup. And, but I guarantee you, folks, there'll be more ECWA show reviews and not just Super 8 tournaments. So I hope you enjoyed this one, folks.